What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Wednesday playoff edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and we got a loaded show for you today. We think we have Tyler Yaremchuk.
Yes, we do.
We
Tyler?
do. Okay.
Oh, yeah, we have Tyler.
We have Tyler Yaremchuk in about 5 minutes. I'm sure he'll be on earlier. Then we'll get to Frank Saravalli at around 9:30, and Colton Davies will make his Morning Cup of Hockey debut at around 9:50 to talk about the Memorial Cup and honestly give me a little bit of a lesson about the Memorial Cup because I do not know much about it. I know it's a round robin tournament that involves 4 teams in the CHL, but that's about it. So excited to learn more about the Memorial Cup. But before any of that, I'm not even going to ask you how you are this morning, Colby. I want to start this show today with a tweet that I saw this morning. Just checking in.
I like when you take charge and you have a little bit of
a
little gumption in the morning. You know what? I respect that, Johnny. I don't even know what to say. I respect it so much.
Okay, well, I'm taking charge, so I want to read this tweet that I saw this morning from Bamboozy on X. I don't know why I said X. On Twitter. It's always going to be Twitter.
No, it's not. It's called X.
It's Twitter.
Don't dead name it.
I'm doing well. Just let me be. Okay, so here's the tweet said. You can have an elite GM with a near flawless team meticulously built over a decade, and you'll lose to a team that dragged the salary cap down by being utter garbage for a decade and was rewarded with 4 first overall picks. So that's how Dallas Stars fans are coping. Colby, what are your thoughts?
Well, I guess they're taking it well. How bad they are getting absolutely dominated by the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, that was a masterclass last night on how to win playoff hockey. And I cannot believe that I am sitting here, a month? How many months are we into the playoffs? You just kind of lose track. A month and a half?
6 weeks. 6 weeks, probably.
6 weeks into the playoffs. And I am sitting here, okay, and I am saying that the Edmonton Oilers might be the best defensive team in the playoffs. And the third period for the Edmonton Oilers last night, Johnny, was a clinic.
And honestly, respect to them too, because when right before Robertson scored, I was like, Dallas is taking this game over. Like they were pressing, they were humming. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just feeling it today. Keep going.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Clearly, your attorney significant other is teaching you how to take charge a little bit. I like it. She's obviously starting to work with you already, so I'll give her a lot of credit for that. But listen, how many leads have we seen in the playoffs vanish this year because teams got into third periods and they sat back? Okay, the Edmonton Oilers put their foot on the gas in the third period last night, and they showed me that they have what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. When you're able to have that level of confidence and not play high-risk hockey, because they didn't play high-risk hockey, but they were so calculated, but they kept moving forward. They kept control. They kept their foot on the neck of the Dallas Stars. Troy Stetcher, late in the third period, is creating a 2-on-1. I mean, it was just... again, if you're a video coach and you're watching that game and you're thinking, wow, this team is for real. And Tyler said they needed 900 plus goaltending from Stuart Skinner, which he's gone above and beyond 900 plus. We know
he's
that.
He's at 910 right now, I think.
I was so impressed with that third period for the Edmonton Oilers. And honestly, it was the first time that I watched them last night that I said, you know what? When you ask me who I'm picking to win the Stanley Cup when they play against the Florida Panthers next week, and I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, I'm going to pick the Edmonton Oilers after that game last night. I mean, they shut down the Vegas Golden Knights. They took all their offense away. Now they're taking away the offense of Dallas. Their penalty kill last night, phenomenal. Let's bring Tyler in. I know.
No. I got a whole thing before we bring Tyler in.
Go ahead.
2 things. First, just look at Jim the Swede's comment. Hilarious. If we can put that up. He's replying to the Dallas Stars tweet. Such a good thing they have Nail Yakupov dominating the Stars series. What a dumbass take. They took Leon at 4. Yak was the biggest bust ever. I'm guessing Nuge isn't a superstar at all. So I laughed at all of that until the last sentence because Nuge has been incredible for Edmonton in this series.
Yeah,
so
the last couple of games, he's been great.
I said in the series, yeah, in the series. But before we bring Tyler on, I am gonna use our Ninja Crispy Hot Take to bring Tyler in. So it's time now for the Crispy Hot Take presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand, so you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
It's an all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. You can cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container with Max Crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. So visit their website in the link in the description and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. So let's bring Tyler in and we'll give him today's Ninja Crispy hot take. And that is that Stuart Skinner has played his way into the Conn Smythe conversation. I don't even think it's that hot. What do you think?
Just one sec here, Johnny. All right. Listen, I'm a good friend, man. I love you guys. I wake up at 7:05 local time after drinking 1,000 beers, but I've been seeing that you keep betting against my Edmonton Oilers. So, buddy, just send me the address. All right. I would hate for you to go hungry after losing all this money. So I'll get this shipped up.
He's even got American dollars for you, Johnny. Look at what a good friend he is.
That's 50 American dollars, Johnny. That's a mortgage payment for me, buddy. If you knew what that converts to.
That's like $3,000 in Canada.
And he spelled my name right. There's no H, which is nice.
Of course. And I care about
Tyler.
you. When are you going to stop, Johnny? When are you going to stop?
Next round when they play the Panthers.
Tyler,
No.
what that third period, I mean, I'm so happy to be back because that third period was artwork, man. How many teams have pissed away third periods in these playoffs by sitting back and waiting? That is not what the Oilers did. The Oilers played a perfect period. They kept their foot on the gas. They didn't make high-risk turnovers at any of the lines. Pucks were placed in smart areas. They possessed it. Like I had goosebumps thinking this team's going to win the Stanley Cup this year.
And I'll be honest, man. Obviously, Oilers fan, rocking the OBC shirt. Get yours at nationgear.ca. I, going into that game, was nervous. I was like, this is a weird feeling right now. Everyone's too confident in the Oilers. We had Frank on the down before the game already asking Gregor. He was like, what's your pick? Oilers versus Panthers Cup final. And I'm like, okay, it's only 2-1. If Dallas would have won last night, that series would have totally shifted in a different direction, and a pretty ugly direction for the Oilers. But that, again, Colby, to your point, is where I just give the Oilers so much credit. They are such a mature, experienced hockey team. There is no scenario that they can face in these Stanley Cup playoffs that they haven't been through before and, quite honestly, worked through and won through before. So I look at that third period. They played bad through 40 minutes of that hockey game last night. And to your Ninja Crispy hot take, Johnny,
yeah, I want to answer that.
Skinner's in the Conn Smythe conversation, and I'm checking my cash out option on the bet I placed on him to win the Conn Smythe a month ago.
Wow.
It's looking pretty damn good right now.
What were those odds?
I got him at 2,000 plus 2,000.
No way. Wait, so
Yeah.
let's be real though, Tyler, because and this is honestly going to relate to the Panthers too. I feel like in years past, and maybe there was more of a case for Dallas with Rantanen, let's say if they were winning the series, but in years past to this point, I feel like there's been an obvious choice, or at least two guys in the running for the Conn Smythe. Right now, I think it could really. I don't know who the leader would be in Conn Smythe conversation between the Panthers and the Oilers.
It's still probably Connor McDavid. And listen, I mean, it's all relative to our expectations of the Oilers' two big guns. Connor McDavid still has 24 points in 15 games in these playoffs. That's pretty crazy. That's an insane clip. The production is nuts. He's got 3 more points than Rantanen, even though he's played 2 fewer games. He's got 9 more points than any Panthers player, even though he's played a game less than any Panthers player. It's probably still Connor McDavid, but listen, we're sitting here on back-to-back games now, and it's funny because the final score would combine to what, 10-2?
4-1 last night. 6-1.
He's been their best player the last 2 nights, though. The last 2 games is my point, and he absolutely deserves to be in that conversation.
You know, the other guy that I want to give some credit to, and it really starts with the coaching staff of Edmonton, but like you watch Podkolzin and the way that he's been playing. This is a guy who had a lot of high hope for his hockey career. Like there were a lot of really smart hockey people, and Patrick Sharp, who I worked with in Chicago, who I think is honestly one of the smartest hockey guys I've ever talked to. Like when Sharpie had a point or an opinion, I was sitting there taking it all in, and sometimes thinking, okay, if I think differently than Sharpie, like I have to really think long and hard because like he's smarter than me. And so he loved Podkolzin, and he always thought there was something there with Podkolzin, right? And no coach has been able to get it out of him. And now this guy is playing this sort of heavy, fuck you, like 200-foot, I can chip in offensively, but I'm going to be good defensively, like almost power forward-esque type of hockey for Edmonton. And you just need that throughout your lineup, especially if you end this series and get on to Florida, which we think will happen, but it's not done yet. Like I'm really impressed with it. Like there are other guys that I'm not surprised are playing well, you know, and I'm not surprised certain guys are doing things like that they're doing, but Podkolzin jumps out at me, Tyler, for a guy who's really rowing the right way and a guy that I think deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, I mean, a good analyst like Patrick Sharp or yourself would give an eloquent answer on what he brings to the lineup. I'm just here to tell you he's a fucking dog, Colby. He's just a dog. Like he gets in there, he fucks him up on the forecheck, he creates turnovers. And to give you some good analysis, what works well with Leon Draisaitl for me, and part of the reason, like, who are we kidding? Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid have some say in who they play with in this Oilers lineup. And time again, the Oilers keep putting Podkolzin back with Draisaitl. And I think part of the reason why Leon Draisaitl really likes playing with him is Podkolzin forces everybody back, right? Like he's a guy who's in there quick on the forecheck. He's creating turnovers, and that just creates so much space in the middle parts and the top parts of the offensive zone for Leon Draisaitl to work. And the Oilers love doing that third forward, looping to the top of the offensive zone and then kind of attacking downhill on teams. And if you put a good forechecker like Podkolzin and Kapanen, I mean, they've been doubling up on it for a while in these playoffs. If you put two guys like that with Leon Draisaitl, you just create so much space for them. So even though they're not your prototypical top six wingers who are going to score you 20 goals a year or whatever, like they're just going to make an impact with a guy like Leon Draisaitl.
And sneaky play too. Like I know they put Draisaitl, McDavid, and Perry back together last night for a little bit, right? Is that how it started? Pretty sure I saw the game started, right?
But they had to break it all up once Hyman got hurt, which is not good.
But it wasn't that way in game 3, right? I think they went to that midway through.
Game 3, they had 9 different combinations of 3 players play at least 90 seconds together. Obviously, Knoblauch wasn't happy with the way game 3 was going, especially in the second period, and he was trying to get something going. Last night, totally different lineup. Then 10 minutes in, Hyman's gone. You're down to 11 forward, so it was a mishmash again.
I want to show the first goal, though, Vic, if we can cue it up, because Corey Perry makes this whole play happen. And honestly, it's somewhat of a risky play because we've seen this called throughout the season. Where a penalty killer skates into, someone on the power play at the blue line, and they're actually called for a pick. But Perry, to me, actually just holds the ice, doesn't continue to skate and like get in the way of Granlund, I believe, which opens up that entire lane for Leon Draisaitl to score that goal. And that's the only guy in the NHL who can score from this angle in today's game. Seems to be Leon Draisaitl, because he's automatic from the bottom of the circles. But Corey Perry, I know we kind of glanced over it here in the video. He makes that whole play happen right there by just setting that little pick.
Yeah, and listen, I think it was a penalty.
I think so too, by the way.
Get called on Zach Hyman so many times through the regular season, through the regular season for the Oilers. But I thought the officiating last night was just garbage, and I felt like because they missed a handful of calls early on both teams, that they caught themselves in the cycle of they were doing makeup call and then not calling things to make up for the makeup call. And it was just an absolute disaster officiating wise. Like there was a scrum with 2 seconds left in the first period by the Stars net. Somehow they only pulled Vasily Podkolzin out of there and gave him a like officiating was a mess. Was that a missed call? Absolutely. Were there probably 4 or 5 other missed calls going both ways in the first 40 minutes of that game? Absolutely. I was stunned when they called Mikael Granlund on that trip late in the third period, because I was like,
Me too.
the way they're calling this game, like, how are they calling a penalty with 4 minutes left in the third period here? But again, officiating breaks, like, as much as I bitch about them, as much as Stars fans bitch about them, especially after game 3 and the Kulak miss, they go both ways, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they
it's
even
one of
out over a series. They even out. And Johnny, the one thing I want to point out about that Draisaitl one-timer,
Yeah.
first off, there's no backswing for him, and he kind of takes those shots further out in front of his body. Like, a lot of guys take it off their front foot. A lot of guys almost take those one-timers from the middle of their stance. But I think one of the things and one of the reasons that those angles sometimes look so shallow and they're so effective for Draisaitl, he gets them so far out in front of his front foot that the goaltender doesn't actually have that extra half a second to get over, because he gets so far out in front of it. He can shoot at a different balance point. Like, he's so good. Most guys need to really be centered in their balance to take a one-timer like that. Not him. He gets it so far off the front. What?
But I don't know if does that really affect the timing of the shot?
100% it affects the timing, because that's an extra half a second. He doesn't have to wait for the puck. Of course it does. Like, that's a no-brainer. You're shooting the puck earlier and a goalie has to move laterally. I mean, I'm not a scientist.
I guess what you're saying,
Johnny,
front foot versus back foot, you're saying?
Of course it is. That's seconds. That's that's small decimal points, but that matters in the National Hockey League. Tyler, what is your concern about Zach Hyman? Because you mentioned him and he's just starting to heat up, right? And it's funny, like, it amazes me the production that they get out of Zach Hyman for $5 million. And one more, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has not, like, that guy at 5'1", the way he's playing in the playoffs with the cap going up the way it is, like, that is a bargain of a contract. There's the injury on Hyman. Like, it's always a little scary when it happens on, like, not a big hit, right? It's always makes you more worried when it's like a weird play rather than like a big hit, because you have no idea what's talking about or what your injury is.
I am not an insider, obviously. I heard last night that it's not good for Zach Hyman. So, take that for what it's worth. If it's a wrist, if it's a broken wrist, whatever, like, that could end his playoffs, right? Like, we're talking about there's only 2.5, 3 weeks left of hockey here if the Oilers were to go all the way and finish the job. So it's concerning for Zach Hyman. But another thing with this Oilers team is just, like, I think back to last year and, they had to keep playing Evander Kane, even though he was very clearly banged up. And if someone was playing bad, it was hard to pull them out of the lineup because the next man up was Derek Ryan. And now you look at this team this year and it's like, okay, the next man up is Victor Arvidsson or it's Jeff Skinner. And it's like, there's
Skinner probably.
There's 3 or 4 layers to the depth before you even start thinking like, ooh, I don't really want to play that guy in a playoff game. So this Oilers team is deep enough to overcome it. Zach Hyman hadn't been playing his best hockey, but he was starting to heat up a little bit with the 2 goals in game 3. So that's where it's a little bit like, oh man, like brutal timing on the injury. But you talked about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and just how unbelievable he's been. I mean, he's setting records here for production through 4 points in a conference final. Like, it's wild to see the way Nuge keeps producing. And Oilers fans are always going to have this soft spot for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I think he'd be, if you were to ask every, Oilers fan across the board in Edmonton, who's your favorite player? It's probably Ryan Nugent-Hopkins because, again, that's a guy who sat here through the shits, man. He was drafted in 2011. He had 8-9 years where he had 10 or 11 coaches, and he stuck around, and he signed a second contract, and then he signed a third contract. And it was at a point, too, where, like, no one, like, he signed this last deal when they were getting swept in the first round by Winnipeg or whatever. Like, no one would have blamed Ryan Nugent-Hopkins if he put his hand up at some point and said, hey, this isn't for me. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's not working. I need a fresh start. But he stuck around and he showed loyalty. Like, he's going to go down, knock on wood, if everything plays out the way it's supposed to in his career. He's going to be the first player to go their whole career only wearing an Oilers jersey. And for a fan base like Edmonton, like, that means a lot.
Wait, let me just read
that stuff.
Yeah, can I read this? So, Brant, who you guys know and love, who has come on our show, He just gave me a little bit of information from that Draisaitl goal we're talking about, Tyler, the one where Johnny tried to just tell me that I was wrong.
I didn't try to tell you you were wrong. I just didn't.
He just let us know that in the last 0.25 seconds of that play, the angle grew 14.69 degrees, which is speaking to the timing that what I'm talking about is because he can get out so far in front of it. He takes the angle and he makes it so much bigger and so much better for himself because he's able to take those plays so far off of his front foot. So always fun to be able to prove Johnny wrong on a morning like this, especially when he's been such an Edmonton Oilers hater. Listen, I know that I started off rough and I probably wouldn't have been welcome in Alberta, but listen, as I just said to D White in the chat, Alberta's God's country. Like, what are we even talking about here? Like, the parade is going to be wild in Edmonton. Like, let's just get it off of our chest right now, Tyler.
He's such a kiss ass, dude.
You guys looking at flights to E-Town for games 1 and 2?
Listen, I'm just going to jump in the box with the Mars Blades and I'll just come UPS right to your front door. Okay.
That's a good gift, by the way. I was jealous when I heard that, Tyler. That's
nice he's gift. Like, can't you get me a pair? I'm like, I'm not going to ask for 2 pairs in 2 weeks. I already got one for my buddy Tyler. I can't help you out, Johnny. So,
Johnny, you can get one as a wedding present when you get married right away, right?
Oh, it's a wedding. Okay, never mind.
He probably that probably will be coming soon. Tyler, what else here? Like, what makes you nervous up 3-1 is, if anything, or do you feel really good that this series is going to end really quickly?
They are 3-1, 4-1 in their last 5 road games in these playoffs. They've only lost once on home ice. I would have been very, very nervous if they lost last night. I would have been like, damn, we got too high on them too early. This team might have their depth start to fall apart a little bit. Like, I would have been a mess if they lost last night. I'm sitting here tonight going, I don't see a path to Dallas beating them 3 consecutive hockey games. Like, maybe Stuart Skinner falls off a cliff again. Maybe, but like,
I don't see it happening.
I don't know. It's just not happening. And they've been so good now for 2.5 weeks. Like, they're 10-2 and they're 11-2 in their last 13 playoff games. Like, it's an insane run that they're on. And with all the experience they gained last year and the maturity they've shown at every turn in this run, I don't think the switch is getting flipped the other way.
And I think it's also proof last night that they're gearing up for a Panthers series with Bouchard's little love tap on.
I loved that, by the way.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I honestly, look, if a guy misses a game because he of that type of injury, I am doing the exact same thing to him. Like, that was like, the Oilers are not messing around here. I seriously, like, and here's another question I have about this play. If Ropa Hintz missed a game for that slash, does he have a broken foot or does he not? And if he does have a broken foot, why couldn't he play in the last game, but he could play in this one? Is it a bruise? I have a lot of questions. Maybe it was another issue for Ropa Hintz why he missed that last game, because I'm still lots of questions about that.
Well, so maybe you guys, because you played the sport at a high level and I obviously did not. Why?
Yeah,
like, I was
all the sport at a high level.
I was stuck. He wasn't wearing like those shot block. Like, there was no extra protection on there.
Yeah,
like, if your foot was actually that badly bruised that you missed a game, why is there not a shot blocker on that?
My only thing is maybe they shot him up before the game.
But still, Johnny, you put the shot blocker on. Like, that doesn't impede you, is my point, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I've played with a broken bone in my foot before, and I've done the shot. It helps, but guys, it doesn't make it so you can't feel anything. No. It doesn't make you pain free. Trust me. So it's still that whole situation is pretty interesting to me.
With the feet though, Colby, like, it's funny, this is something that maybe some people who didn't really play or haven't played won't know, but if you have a foot injury, when you're out there, you can kind of battle through it. It's when you're sitting on the bench in between shifts that it's like really painful and you're thinking about it. But when you're skating, your mind is almost off the actual injury. Am I wrong in saying this? Like, well, I remember,
Johnny, I played with a broken foot when I was in the American League. I broke my foot. I took a slap shot off the foot playing against Hartford on a Sunday, and then we had to go down to Norfolk. This is when Norfolk was Tampa's AHL team, right? And they had all those, they had, Palat and Gudas, and like it was like they won the AHL that year. They literally lost 10 games that year, the Norfolk team. I was having major pain all week, and the x-ray came back negative because I got x-rayed and my foot was still really swollen. And Bruce Cassidy, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this here, I'm going to tell you, he literally said, "You're being a pussy, you're playing, you're practicing." Like, that's it. That's what he said to me. And so I did. And like, I played 2 games in Norfolk where I basically played center field because I couldn't skate. I was in that much pain. I came back. I called my agent. I said, "There's something wrong." He called the Bruins. I had to get an MRI. The MRI came back that my foot was completely broken. And then I was in a boot, and, like I was out for 6 weeks, 8 weeks or whatever. So I can tell you, Johnny, like, depending on where the spot is, you can't always just numb it up to where you can't feel it. And you do feel it. Like, broken bones are tough, man. Like, it's a very, very, when you see a guy finish a shift when you see Greg Campbell finish a shift with a broken leg, it's crazy. Like it's tough. I didn't want to play with that, but I basically was told I had to. Right. So, Tyler, last thing for me here on the Edmonton Oilers, watching their penalty kill last night, which has been really good. I felt like they sagged a little bit too much on the Robertson goal. Like, I didn't like how far back they were. And then I feel like when McDavid's out there, and I think was it Biz who said McDavid shouldn't kill penalties. He should play the full 2 minutes of the power play. I don't necessarily agree with that because I like the pace that McDavid kills with. I think he makes guys uncomfortable with the puck. But are they playing with fire when they sag a lot, Tyler? Like, that was the one thing that bothered me about their kill. Although it was good, that could be problematic, against a team like Florida to sag a little and condense a little bit too much.
Yeah, like again, I'm not the kind of guy who's going to sit here and break down film or whatever, but like what's gotten them in trouble in the past is they struggle to clear pucks and they just stand still. Like, they don't anticipate that well. And then to your point, like, they just sag. It almost feels like they're scared to like take a risk or whatever. And that's why I love they started playing Evan Bouchard. He's, I think, their highest time on ice penalty killing defenseman in the last 2 rounds. They started playing Bouchard, and he never misses an opportunity to hammer the puck out of the zone. And they put Connor McDavid out there because what does he do? He anticipates and he reads plays really, really well. And he helps everybody just get a little bit more aggressive on the penalty kill. When they're passive, they get murdered. They were passive in game 1. Dallas executed really, really well. Last night, I felt like they were actually really good on the PK, but they came into the second period, and it's almost like they were too much in just survival mode, and they weren't trying to push a little bit. And as weird as it sounds, I think their penalty kill is at its best when it pushes a little bit.
Yeah. All right, Johnny. I don't know if you have one more. I know you normally do, and then we'll let Tyler go. We got Frank coming here in a couple of minutes.
I got one more, and maybe it's a little bit premature, but I'm not sure when we'll have you back. I'm sure we'll have you back to preview.
What do you mean? We'll probably ask him to come back after the next game.
Yeah. But I'm kind of just curious, like right now, off the top of my head, because everyone's going to start talking about the final matchup, right? Everyone, I think, is counting out Carolina and Dallas, and they should be, because I don't see either team really coming back or having a chance to come back. But what makes you more confident this year against Florida as opposed to how you maybe felt last year, even though we didn't really know going in what that series would look like last year?
It's the forward depth for me. Like, again, it doesn't, as much as last night was the power play and goaltending show, it doesn't have to be that every night right now in Edmonton. Yeah. We have a third line, a fourth line that can contribute offense. And even if Hyman's hurt, you're not that worried because there's just so many guys that can contribute on a game-to-game basis. Like, yes, this team is still fully capable of doing the whole Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl carry them to victory. But if Connor and Leon have an off night and they're not producing, there's all of a sudden 5-6 other forwards that you can point to and be like, oh, they're playing really good hockey right now, and they can contribute on the score sheet. So it's that, and also the blue line just looks so much, as weird as this sounds, so complete. Like, it's 3 pairings that I really think Chris Knobloch and Paul Coffey can trust in a lot of different scenarios. So if they get Ekholm back, the blue line looks even better at that point, and it's the forward depth for me. I just think this team won't be denied.
And just quick, Randy's been asking basically the whole time you've been on, any word on Ekholm coming back. Do you know if there's a date? I imagine it would be game 1.
I
I'm hearing he's getting very close.
Yeah, I think he's getting closer. I don't think we'll see him in game 5. I bet you they save him.
There's no reason to now, right? Like, why throw him
I
in there
mean,
now?
yeah, but yes and no, because remember, like you could always go 11-7, and it's not the worst thing to get him a game before the Stanley Cup Finals. It's not the worst thing. So I think once he's ready, Tyler, I think he goes in. I don't think they're looking at this going, let's just wait. Like if he says, "Hey, I feel good enough to play," what's the difference of 2 or 3 days? You know, I think he plays if he's ready. Because again, it's not the worst thing to get the training wheels off against Dallas before you got to go against the big bad Panthers here. And yes, sorry, Carolina fans, we are looking ahead a little bit here.
Oh, yeah.
And we have no reason not to if we're being. Oh, stop it!
I think they win tonight. I think they win tonight.
Don't. He's gonna say it's a must win for Florida tonight. Watch, Tyler. Not only are you holding down the fort for this entire operation we have here at Nation Network, but you get up early on days you don't have to talk to us about your boys. We know you were in the building last night having a few and celebrating with the squad. But thanks for coming on this morning. You are the best, pal.
Yeah, anytime, boys. I love popping on, and I have time to take a 1-hour nap before recording the DFO rundown, so I'm going to go do that.
Go get there.
Buddy.
All right, thanks, Ty.
Hey, boys.
Appreciate it. Great stuff. And listen, I usually would not want a Stanley Cup final rematch, but with these two teams, I actually don't know if there's a matchup I would want more.
Can you tell me why that is? Just curious.
Just because of everything built up last year. I mean, the way that series went down, seeing the Amazon behind the scenes, like the little things of the shit talk with Tkachuk, with McDavid, that going back to Four Nations with Tkachuk and McDavid, you know, and just
but
how
so
consistent.
No. My
how
question was why would you not normally want a rematch? Like there's
I
so
like
much
seeing new
piss
blood.
and vinegar.
I like seeing new blood get in there to the Stanley Cup final. Like I would have liked seeing Toronto get in there. Like that's
well,
me
I think
personally.
I think a lot of people probably would have.
But
So
you know what I mean? Like I don't. Again, like we're now seeing Florida in the Cup final for the 3rd year in a row. Like I like seeing new teams get a chance, but with how much animosity they have built up,
you're kind of an everyone gets a medal type of guy, aren't you? Like, do you think that like the team that loses the final should get a banner for like runner up?
No.
Stanley Cup runner up. Should they get like in the NCAA, like give them a mini trophy, a little mini Stanley Cup? Are you giving me the finger right now? I can't really tell.
No, it's my pointer.
Okay, I just was
if I was giving you the finger, I'd give you the finger.
Okay. All right, I was just wondering. All right, so look, we're gonna have Frank here any second. He's getting situated. He's got the Adam Schefter thing going today, so we're gonna get him from the car.
Oh, the car.
Okay. We're gonna get him for the car. But I don't know. Do you need to?
Doogie had a good comment. Johnny,
do you have some way to read him in before you?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
I do. I was just gonna say, Doogie said Johnny doesn't want us to turn into the NBA where it's the same teams every season. Yeah, I don't want that. Who wants that? It's fun to see new teams get a chance.
Yeah, I don't know if this is anything like the NBA. The NHL players like sell their soul to win. The NBA players, I'm not sure I see that when I watch their sport.
The Knicks grind.
Okay.
I'm telling you. But we got Frank ready. So before we bring Frank on, just a quick word from our sponsor, Parasso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Parasso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Parasso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And Frank, whoa. Nice.
Oh, I was not expecting. Yeah, I was not expecting you to be looking like this morning.
We thought you'd be in the car.
Yeah, I ended up getting home a little sooner than I thought, which is perfect. Way better quality for everyone. And I mean, look, when you look this way, you got to try and get some good lighting to look as good as humanly possible.
You look handsome.
For me is a challenge.
You look handsome.
Frank, we just spent the first 30 minutes talking about the Edmonton Oilers Dallas series. So we will not bore you with that. There are some other things going around the National Hockey League. And you know, teams are hiring managers, they're hiring coaches, and you know, your trade board has been, you know, slowly getting updated, you know, on Daily Faceoff's website. And I'd like to start with some of the coaching vacancies. Pittsburgh, Boston, and Seattle are all teams that have not hired coaches. There's been rumors about finalists. I'm just curious what you're hearing about that. Like, I know you're not a rumor guy. Like, you don't just report things just to blow hot air. Like, when you have it, you go with it, right? But I'm just curious. From the Boston Bruins comes to mind, and I know Don Sweeney's not a leaker, and they keep it pretty airtight there. But I'm just curious, like, what is taking so long there? Because there's only 2 coaches left. Like, there's only 2. Well, I guess that's not true. There's 4 staffs left. Is it somebody that's still coaching in the playoffs? Is the interview process going slow? Like, what are we waiting for here?
No, I think the interview process, particularly for the Bruins, has been methodical, like, if not extensive. They've talked to somewhere between 14 to 16 different candidates. They have still spent time with Joe Sacco because I think he's got a lot of support there. They have talked to any number of guys from Jay Woodcroft to Marco Sturm to go through the list. I mean, it's been a whole laundry list. They've talked to some first-time candidates. Look, it's been all over the map. I think they know how critical this hire is. And the funny thing is about that, the Bruins have done a damn good job hiring coaches. They've just probably been a little aggressive in firing them. So it hasn't been about picking the best coach or the right coach. They've done a good job with that. So look, there's been a different pace to all of these. Pittsburgh, obviously Kyle Dubas was at the Worlds and he was engaging in conversation while there. I think there was a couple people who made trips to Sweden to talk to him. I think he did a number of Zoom interviews. So Seattle, there was a clear transition in power from Ron Francis to Jason Botterill, who's running the search. Like, it's been all over the map. And then we may have another entrant into the conversation. What happens with the New York Islanders? And Matthew Darche has a decision to make this week.
Do you have a hunch on what's going to happen there, based on his style or the Tampa Bay always seemed like a pretty methodical, patient staff for years and years and years, which is what he came up under. Does that make us feel like maybe he'll give Wah an opportunity, or is Wah just too big of a personality and too hard to work with? I wouldn't know.
Well, I think it would be hazardous for me to handicap because we don't know the playbook for Matthew Darche. Beyond that, I don't know what his relationship is like, if any, that's pre-existing with Patrick Roy. These are 2 French speakers, Quebecois natives. Like, these are 2 guys that may get along really well. And
they usually stick together, those guys, don't they?
Yeah, but I'd say if I were handicapping from afar, like agnostic of who the general manager is, if I were in that position, I don't want someone who's, especially as a first-time guy, if this is how critical Patrick Roy is going to be publicly of, being critical of his general manager, of a Hall of Famer, what's it going to be like as a first-time guy? So
right.
I'd want to distance myself from that as much as possible. But in saying that, I think it's unquestionable that Patrick Roy is a pretty good coach.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot to consider and unpack with that Islander situation.
I want to go
tweeted as well, just some more coaching news. Mike Vellucci is closing in on a job with the Chicago Blackhawks as their assistant on Jeff Blashill's staff. So I think Mike Vellucci had numerous opportunities. I think Mike Sullivan had interest in bringing Vellucci to the Rangers. And yeah, I know that he interviewed for at least one head coaching opening as well. So it's been an interesting run on the coaching circuit.
Mm-hmm.
His name is always, Vellucci's name has been mentioned for years for a head coaching job. He used to coach the Plymouth Whalers back in the day. And it's funny, like I got to know him because that was one of the 2 OHL teams that when I was a young hockey player that we went and visited and talked to. So I've always rooted for him, and he's a longtime assistant coach in the NHL, but he hasn't been able to seal the deal on being a head coach. And we talked about this, Frank. I would just love to be a fly on the wall during an interview process for an NHL head coach, because some people that seem like slam dunks, maybe they don't interview well, right? That's the
They do.
information we'll never
Yeah.
get.
Well, look at Todd Nelson in Hershey. He's won 3 AHL titles now, 3 Calder Cups. He's won at other pro levels. And I think he's a really good coach. The guys in Edmonton during that interim period in time loved him. The players actually still talk about him, but he doesn't interview well. One team remarked that it looked like he showed up with a crumpled suit that he just took out of his suitcase, like something Johnny Lazarus would do.
I was waiting for something like that.
Yeah. So
I mean, if the shoe
I'm just
fits,
waiting for my turn to speak.
Or are you
Well,
here still? I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
it's your show, so like speak up when you want. But here's the thing. Not everyone interviews well, and I think that's probably a shitty way to go through the process. Like you're in the end, you're trying to hire a good coach. Whether or not they're good at conversing with you or convincing you that they're the right guy for the job, I think there's a whole, I could name them, and I'm not going to, but I think there's a whole slew of guys that interview really well that are shitty coaches. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
They could talk a pit bull off a meat wagon, but they can't coach a hockey team to save their life.
Wait, Frank, what was the suitcase line you just had?
That he took his suit out of the, like, it was crumpled, and it was something that you would do.
My mom just texted me, wrinkles aren't good.
Yeah. See? Mom
She
knows
knows.
best. Yeah.
I mean, Johnny, you went to Canada with an expired passport.
I know.
Like,
Whatever. Move on.
you travel in shorts. You check bags. Like,
Let me ask my question, okay?
if the shoe fits, bud. I mean,
I'm flying
come on.
Southwest tomorrow to Nashville. I'm sure it's going to be a disaster. But
Oh my God.
all right.
At least you got a direct though.
Yes.
You're
direct.
learning.
I want everyone to cover their ears for a second. Not you guys, our listeners. Frank, personal question and a little bit of a popularity question. Okay. Comment in the chat distract me. So your trade targets list, a lot of the comments I was reading was a track. Jesus, I'm so thrown off right now. Was a trade package, JJ Peterka and Bo Byram together. That's what a lot of the comments were saying on your trade targets list. From Buffalo fans, from NHL fans, so be it.
So that it's got to be accurate.
Well, no. So I'm asking the question because around deadline time, Peterka and the Rangers was a lot of the conversation. So I'm curious if there's one team that you would have in mind for the two of them, and if the Rangers would be one of those teams of interest.
Man, that would be the first thing that comes to mind is that would be a very expensive package. I mean, you're talking about 2 difference makers at their position that are both 23 that have legitimate star potential. I mean, Peterka, for my money right now as a top line winger, capable on a bad team of putting 70 points up as a 23-year-old. Imagine if you put him into a situation where goals are easy to come by and your team's winning, and you put him with some dogs. I mean, he's the best trade market player available. And Mitch Marner is the best free agent available. So it almost seems like an unthinkable package to try and put together. Like, I don't know what you could offer. Like, it's hard for me okay, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
Let's think about Buffalo and where they're heading. Buffalo probably, we're thinking, doesn't want futures, right? They want to try and end this 14-year playoff drought. They want to take major steps forward and be a playoff team. Turning back the clock and saying, all right, yeah, we'll take first round pick. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
So what is it that someone can offer from their roster for one of these players, let alone to try and get both of them? I have a real hard time seeing that happen. Am I crazy?
I don't think so. I don't think you're crazy. The question is also, would teams want the both of them for, that lump sum, like you just said? Like, I'm trying to think of a team that those two go to right now that like gets them a little bit further along the hump, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a team that is sort of like mid-build, so to speak.
Like
the
Ottawa would
team.
be the team that you're thinking, like,
No, well, Ottawa's more closer to a finished product. They're already a playoff team. I'm thinking like Utah,
Mhm.
Detroit,
Columbus.
Chicago, Calgary, Columbus. I'd probably include the Flyers in there,
Mhm.
even though I think they've got so much work to do. Teams that are like looking for a way forward but aren't quite there yet and need players that by the time JJ Peterka is 27 are a cup caliber team.
Mhm. So the thing I want to end with you today, Frank, before we let you go, I want to get into the Sam Bennett conversation because he's dominating headlines right now. And, you know, Johnny said to the effect of like, Sam Bennett's only worth $10 million if he plays for the Florida Panthers. Did you say that, Johnny?
I think he's a $10 million player for where he is right now. I don't think you get the same impact from him anywhere else.
Okay.
I don't think you do.
First off, Frank, do you agree with that?
That may be one of the more intelligent things Johnny's ever said.
Like I want to know if you agree with it, but I also want to know like
on one hand, I do, because like on the other hand, though, I'm like, well, the no state tax and like, no, you're not paying him as much as Barkov and Kachuk. Like, that's lunacy. But I get the premise, which I think has a ton of validity.
Is someone going to give him $10 million? And if you pay him that amount of money, are you really paying him for the regular season? You're paying this guy for the playoffs.
100%. And you need other players to bring another guy into the conversation. Mitch Marner helps you get to the playoffs. Then you need Sam Bennett to come in and finish the job, which is why I think being a general manager in this league more than other leagues is exceptionally difficult, because you have to build one type of team for the regular season and then a whole other type of team for the postseason that can grind and play physical and big and win.
And to that point, I keep seeing Martian, who's like a big Ottawa Senators like Twitter personality. Funny guy too, actually. I like following him and his stuff. But he keeps saying, wait, so Sam Bennett and NHL players can play themselves into more money in the playoffs, but guys like Mitch Marner can't play themselves out of more money in the playoffs. Make that make sense.
Well, I do think that with the playoff production that we've seen from Mitch Marner, look, it only takes one to blow this statement out of the water. But I think what we should have learned from this playoff run, or multiple 9 of them now, is there should be a cap to what he earns. Like, it's just, I think you have to go into it with realistic expectations. It's one thing to go out and try and land the player. It's kind of the dance that you do with offer sheets. It's one thing to go out and get the guy. It's another thing to then have him live up to the value of it, which is a whole other proposition. So do I think some team is going to offer Sam Bennett a $10 million AAV plus? I mean, maybe on a short-term deal,
but isn't 10 million, Frank? Isn't 10 million tomorrow like more like 8.5 million today? And isn't he probably at least an $8 million player with his playoff production? Like, what would you give him? You're a general manager. Tell us what you would be comfortable giving him, keeping in mind that you're going to have at least some, you're either going to have to give him more money or more term to get him, to lure him in free agency.
I'm holding my nose, giving him 7 times 7.5, and I'm not paying him a penny more.
Okay.
What's the holding your nose? What does that mean?
I don't like when I'm doing it. I'm holding my nose going, I don't like this, but I'm going to do it because I want to get the player.
Could we see Tampa go get aggressive and try to bring him in and feel like, I mean, again, I think Tampa's closer to a rebuild than a Stanley Cup, even though they don't think that, but
I think Tampa is closer to the JJ Peterka conversation than they are to the Sam Bennett conversation.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. All right. I was just kind of curious because I'm seeing the Bennett, that name, dominate the conversation right now on social media amongst fans. And I think a lot of people are debating it. Vic, maybe
it's the flavor du jour. It's like, it's what's right in front of you. It's easy. There's not even like, it's not abstract. Like, you're like, oh, this is a tangible playoff performer.
Yeah.
I just think you have to balance that with a guy who is topping out at 51 or 53 points and more often than not on a team that is in Florida, to Johnny's point, is probably giving you 37.
Right, because
Are you willing to
I mean,
suck it up? What, you might not get into the playoffs with that type of production. That's the thing. And if you're devoting such a huge chunk of your cap to him, you have to have other drivers that are going to get you in to have him actually be worth it.
I know this isn't what like the trade really was, but is this a crazy stretch to say, look what Jonathan Huberdeau did toward the end in Florida versus what he's doing getting 10.5 million in Calgary?
Yeah, I don't think
Dan Bennett was doing in Calgary versus what he's doing in Florida.
I'm not sure that's the comparison. I'm your premise here is right, Johnny, and your point and your thought is right. I don't think Huberdeau's I don't think that's the mirror of what.
No, but I'm saying like what Huberdeau fit, the way he fit in Florida versus another team, the team that Bennett happened to be on versus Bennett's fit in Florida versus.
Yeah, but look at the Florida roster now. Look at the Florida roster now compared to when they had Huberdeau. It was very different makeup, very different build, different heaviness, different depth, everything. So
not the year after, not 2023 when Bennett's whole playoff explosion kind of started.
Frank, we can expect
he had a track record in Calgary of being a good playoff player,
but not the playoff player he is now.
No, well, they didn't go deep enough to make it happen.
Yeah.
Johnny, do your parents really watch your show on the daily basis?
My mom does, like, every day. Sometimes when I'm doing the show, like in my parents' house, I could hear it 10 seconds behind upstairs.
Dude, they must really love you. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, first off, my wife has zero clue what I do or what I like, nothing. Could care less. Doesn't even know the name of my show.
That's why.
And second, my dad coached Colby and knows Colby and he actually was one of the few people that likes Colby.
It's true.
And look, and he was like, well, what's that thing? Colby, what? Like, you guys, did you guys do something? Like, what?
My dad says the same thing. He's like, don't you and Frank Saravalli have a podcast together? I'm like, no.
They have no idea, like, no clue. And like, your parents are loyal everyday watchers. So God bless.
The best I ever get is Alex telling me that you're being too loud in your office. I'm like, really? Like, I'm doing a show right now. That's about the best I get out of my family for the show.
Yeah.
So,
actually, Frank, my girlfriend's your biggest fan. She loves you.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, normal, all normal today. Noon, you and Tyler, Daily Face Off Live.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. Well, listen, 2.5 hours from now, you can see Frank again. Maybe he'll have some coaching news to break by that point. It seems like we're kind of in that season. So, Frank, thanks for making it work today. I know this week has been a little bit thrown off, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, pal?
See you.
Thanks, Frank.
All right.
He's the best. That was awesome. Colton, we're waiting at what?
It's just funny. Like, it is so true. Like, my dad literally said to me the other day, he's like, you and Frank Saravalli have a podcast or something, right? I'm like, sure, Dad. Yeah, why not?
How do you feel about the word podcast? I don't like when people call our show a podcast. Me
too. It feels like it has like a little. Yeah. It's almost like another guy with a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
I tell everyone we're a live show.
We're a live show. Right? We're a live show. Now, listen, we love our download audience. Not everybody can be with us live. And by the way, okay, I was reading the comments from the show yesterday. Jeremiah, happy birthday, pal. I didn't realize yesterday was your birthday. Johnny, you're supposed to tell me stuff like that, but I saw it in the YouTube comments from yesterday. So happy birthday to our very, very loyal teammate, Jeremiah. There's no guy who consumes more daily face off than he does. And he gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning in Alaska or even earlier to be with us here in the chat. He's in the chat today or no?
He's always in, but he's it's so funny. Like, sometimes he's in under his name and sometimes he's in under the sports beard.
Okay. So there he is. I see you. Yeah. Johnny texted you. You didn't tell me. Like, that's such a sewer move.
He posted something on social media that it was his birthday. I saw it. I texted him.
I didn't see it. Okay. I didn't see it.
You tell me not to text you. So why would I text you?
That is true. I do tell you that. Although it's kind of nice now because, you're preoccupied. So you're not texting me quite as much. So in other news, Johnny and I are going to play in a charity tournament together in August, checking for charity. So that'll be funny. We've got
Yeah,
we've got the
we want to
ringers.
film that probably.
Just this morning, we got Sam Lipkin, who's going to play on our team, plays in the AHL. Justin Solvay from Harvard. So we're putting a real squad together. All right, let's switch gears, Johnny. I don't know if we have any. If you've got to read Colton into the show here, but let me just preface this quickly before you do. We talk a lot about the Clark Cup on here, which is the USHL Championship. Johnny and I we have obvious bias. I've only seen a dozen major junior games in my life. I've talked about my journey. The CHL was not an option at that point. It is obviously a great league, mostly in Canada. There are some American teams, but there is the Memorial Cup going on right now, which is a huge event in Canada. You get the 3 winners from the OHL, the CHL, and the Q, and then the host team. So it's a 4-team tournament. And look, it's a tournament that we don't know a lot about, honestly. We understand a little bit about it, but we're going to bring on Colton Davies here, who works for Daily Faceoff. He covers the Memorial Cup, amongst other things. He was on the sheet yesterday, talking about it a little bit, and this is for you mostly, Olivia, because we know that you're another loyal
begging
listener.
for this.
You're always here with us. You asked us, you said we want to talk, we want to hear about the Memorial Cup. We promised you we would. I'm sure there's some other Canadian folks and maybe Americans that are really interested in this tournament. Now remember, things have changed. Some of these kids from the Memorial Cup, they're going to be playing in the Frozen Four next year, right? So our American audience is going to have to understand who these guys are and why. Our Canadian audience already knows and is going to have to start probably learning a little bit more about college hockey and potentially the USHL, because the one thing I would love to see, the Muskegon Lumberjacks just won the Clark Cup, right? Why not have Muskegon in the Memorial Cup? Why not make it a 5-team tournament? Right? Let's get the best teams from the best leagues all together. I think it would be amazing to see something like that. So go ahead, Johnny, read Colton in, and then we're going to give him the floor and we're going to let him school us on what's going on in the Memorial Cup.
Well, I should have known this before, but funny, weird story, I guess, just quick before I read Colton in. Ryder Bolton is one of the better players on London, I believe, the son of Eric Bolton. And I actually used to coach him at the Jack Craig Hockey Academy on Long Island when his dad played for the Islanders. So that was cool to see his name.
Let's get the likes up today on the episode too, by the way. The likes are way too low for how many people. Like, our audience is back. We've had a big audience all day. Let's get the likes going back on the episode here. I don't know why we're slacking so much. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yep. So just to read Colton in here, just a quick word from our sponsor, Budweiser. Budweiser is encouraging buds to make time for playoffs, not excuses. Every goal, every check, every win is better enjoyed with your buds. So phone a bud, text a bud, ping a bud, and call out their excuses for bailing on playoffs. After all, the playoffs are the most wonderful time of the year. So make them count. When it's springtime, it's go time. And with that, let's bring on the man himself, Colton Davies. Good morning. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you guys?
We're good. We're buzzing. We're ready to learn about the Memorial Cup. Listen, I got to be honest. I do not know much about it. I don't think I've ever really tuned into a game. Just being fully transparent.
Look at that jersey, Johnny. Like, does that not get you excited?
I was waiting.
Can you even focus on Colton in the Memorial Cup when he has a Lafreniere Junior jersey over his shoulder?
Which is funny because it's not Alexis Lafreniere. It's Tommy Lafreniere, who plays for the Kamloops Blazers.
Yeah, Kobe, you idiot.
There you go. I thought
So,
maybe he did.
but I knew
I stand corrected.
I knew this would be a topic.
Yeah.
Knew this would be a topic.
But with that, let's get into the the game last night. Obviously there's a lot of eyeballs on those two teams, but what is your biggest takeaway right now from the early parts of the Mem Cup? And maybe if you can just give like a brief little rundown, just for our listeners who don't really know, and me, honestly, what goes into it, how the host team gets selected, because there's been cases where, a host team isn't very good. They're sitting out for like a month, right? And then the Memorial Cup comes around and they win it.
Yeah.
So if you can just kind of give that.
Mm-hmm. So
Do we?
the
There we
host
go.
team is usually selected like a year in advance. So last year, it was so last year it was Saginaw, so the US got to host it. The year before that it was Kamloops, which was my hometown. And so it was, like the host team gets selected a year in advance. It's a bidding process. Their teams from every league get to bid, and it just kind of, that's how it kind of goes. I don't exactly know how the selection happens, like how they narrow it down, but it's just, cities will bid on it, and then it is rightfully so goes to a host team. This year it's in Rimouski. Next year it's in Kelowna, which is like an hour and a half away from me. So you guys should come out to that because it would be pretty wicked.
I hear
But
Kelowna is like one of the
it's
most
a
beautiful
cool
places
tournament.
there is.
Like, yeah, absolutely. And so for the tournament itself, though, there's 4 teams. There's a winner from the WHL. There's a winner from the Ontario League, and then there's 2 teams from the QMJHL this year. The host team, or the host league, that is, gets 2 teams automatically. So the host team and then plus the team that wins the league will also get to join the Memorial Cup. So that's why you see both Rimouski and Moncton in it this year.
Who do you like to win the Memorial Cup? Is it the Gavin McKenna show all the way, or are we thinking that the London
Yeah.
Knights and the Hunter family is going to find a way to impose their will here and get through these next 2 games? We're definitely working with a little delay here too.
It's
folks,
definitely
so if you're
possible,
wondering-
right? That London team made it to the yeah. The London team though is fantastic. Like they were there last year, obviously, in the final, and they lost out to Saginaw in the Memorial Cup final. So they're definitely a team that can bounce back here and definitely get into the final again by, they have to beat whoever is next, right? So that's Moncton or Rimouski, and that goes down tonight. For players though, like you can watch players on both kind of sides. But on London right now, it's Sam O'Reilly. That's a guy that I really like. He's been phenomenal. You mentioned Ryder Bolton. He's more of a role player.
I'm
obviously
learning in
kinda
the chat right now.
similar to his dad. So he has some grit to that team, but for me, it's there's really good players on that London team. William Nicol is another player. Casper Haltonen's a player. Sam Dickinson. So 2 guys there, obviously, who are San Jose prospects. But man, this London team is loaded. And then Easton Cowan, of course, up front. And you can't forget about Oliver Bonk either. But for me, it's interesting because Medicine Hat is so good as well, and they're so young. Like they dominated last night essentially. London kind of dominated the first 20 minutes, but for me, Medicine Hat took over that game. And you're seeing right now, like Gavin McKenna is lighting it up on every stage, and arguably, like you could say he's better than Bedard at this point, right at his age. And I don't know if that's even a hot take.
Yeah, wow, that is obviously big praise. Look, we're gonna try to tune in and catch.
For me, like McKenna.
Yeah, we're having some internet connection problems here. So Vic, why don't you drop Colton out and see if you guys can work on that connection a little bit. The delay is making it really, really difficult for us to kind of go back and forth with it. Look, it's kind of funny, Johnny. Like I've always had sort of like the London Knights are always the team that you heard about.
Yeah.
For me at least, because it goes
I went
back
to a preseason game this year in London.
Robbie Shrimp, and Corey Perry, and then Kane goes there. Sam Gagne was a good friend of mine, kind of through those young years, and so he went and played there. Kaner left the NTDP, and because he was on the U18 team, but he was still a junior in high school, so he went there. So like I've always kind of seen things about the London Knights. I remember Phil McRae, who was on our national development team, his father, Basil McRae, longtime NHL, he was a London Knight guy. I feel like anytime I see, anything like that on NHL Network or anywhere else, I've always kind of been like, oh, I'd love to see the London Knights win. And see how because that's obviously such a well-established program in the CHL. One of the questions I wanted to ask Colton, and obviously I could just Google it, but What like Medicine Hat? What a name for a city, right? It's in Alberta. So we already talked about Alberta being God's country. I guess it's located along the Saskatchewan River. It says it's 169 kilometers east of Lethbridge, and it's 300 kilometers southeast of Calgary, just to give you a little geography lesson of where in the world we're talking about. But I think that's one of the cool things about junior hockey, whether we're talking about the CHL, whether we're talking about the USHL, Des Moines, Iowa, Lincoln, Nebraska, Medicine Hat, Spoke, these small towns. Even London is not a real small town, but look, if you live in London, you're probably a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, but you're a London Knight fan. Like even before you're your NHL team fan, which I think makes junior hockey really cool. There's no NHL team in Des Moines or in Des Moines, Iowa, or Dubuque, or the smaller towns that the USHL has done so well in, or the small towns all over Ontario and all over Quebec and the western, part of the United or of North America. So I would say this: if you have an opportunity to watch the Memorial Cup, I think some of the games are on NHL Network. Jeremiah, I don't mean to poke the bear talking about NHL Network. I know that's not your favorite network, and it is, your birthday. You're the birthday boy this week, but I would definitely. Yeah, Ice Clubs is saying Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Exactly. Like unbelievable town, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But the hockey team they're a draw in Sioux Falls, right? Like, I remember being in Lincoln back in the day, and like the building was swamped. It was unbelievable. That's what everybody did when there wasn't football, like Nebraska football. So I think junior hockey is really cool. And I would love to see the USHL and the CHL partner on some sort of cup, you know what I mean? Some sort of series, some sort of cup, I know they did the top prospects this year, USA top prospects versus Canada top prospects. Canada absolutely beat the shit out of our U18 team this year. And we saw those games, but I would just love to see something like that happen, Johnny, because I think it would give people in Canada that don't know shit about the USHL and probably, don't think very highly of it, probably a lot more of an eye-opening experience with how good the USHL is. And I think it'd be the same for the USHL. I think you take the top teams and you throw them into the CHL. I think it would be cool just to see how they match up. And I think it would be really entertaining hockey. I think it'd be something fans could really wrap their heads around. And I think watching the Memorial Cup and watching the Clark Cup, as you got a front row seat to.
Yeah, that should be on NHL Network tomorrow too, by the way.
Yeah, it just gives you appreciation for how good these kids are at such a young age.
And I was just going to add too, like I really wanted to ask Colton how he feels about CHL players now being able to go off to Division I college, because listen, it does take away a little bit of the product. From CHL, like guys aren't going to stay as long probably if they can go and play at an NCAA Division I university at the age of 18 instead of playing junior hockey.
Yeah.
But again, like it's there also is some positive to it too for CHL fans. And, I'm sure Olivia can honestly answer that question as well, but she's even saying Memorial Cup winner versus Clark Cup winner play a best of 3 series. Like who wouldn't want that? Like,
yeah.
that'd be awesome.
I think that would be amazing. But it's true. Like the USHL is used to being a league that pushes players up to the next league, right? And the CHL is really used to being a league that pushes players to pro. So it's different, right? Although the USHL does have kids that sign right out of the USHL, it's not unheard of, but it's always been a little bit of a different philosophy between those two leagues. And so it is true. Like a guy like Gavin McKenna is not going to be playing in Medicine Hat next year. He's going to be playing in the NCAA somewhere, right? And there's a number of other players, and I got to be careful. I don't get myself in trouble here, mentioning things that I shouldn't be, but there's a number of other players around the CHL that we're going to now see playing college. And that's probably going to be difficult for some of these fans that have watched these kids since they were drafted at 16 years old. But maybe that will drag them into watching the NCAA. Maybe we'll have a bigger audience for the Frozen Four next year, because now we're going to drag more of the Canadian people, to watch that stuff, because these are the players that they love so much. I do see in the chat, people are talking about Marco Sturm. Is that
And
something
Hyman
that,
too. Hyman was ruled out for Game 5 and probably the rest of the Western Conference Final.
where are we seeing the Sturm stuff? Because I don't
I haven't seen
see.
that.
Yeah, like I don't, people are saying this just in Marco Sturm. Like who is saying what reliable person has said that? Like, we're not going to run with that news until Frank tweets it or Drager or Elliot or one of those guys. So
I'm
I
not
don't
seeing it anywhere.
what'd you say?
I'm not seeing it anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a pause on that one. It does sound like Colton has worked some of his some of his internet stuff out, and
Hopefully.
so we got you on your phone now, which is
Yeah.
great. Look, one of the questions that we had for you was who have been who are the standout players that we expect to take big jumps next season, whether it's to pro, the NCAA, like the guys that we're going to now, if we're not in Canada and we don't have access to the CHL, right? Who are the guys that we're going to be watching on a the bigger stages next season?
It's kind of a hard question, really, but you've already nailed it. I was just joining the room when you talked about Gavin McKenna, right? Like, what's he going to do next year? That's the big question mark, and everybody seems to know that he's heading down south. He's going to go play in the NCAA, but it's where, right? There's a number of other players as well that are going to jump ship, and we both know that. But it's interesting to me because there's a couple players, and even in this draft, like Michael Misa is a guy that I could see playing pro next year. But like, is that going to happen? I don't know. What about Brady Martin? Like, could he be a flyer, and like not a flyer specifically, but could he end up playing for a team next year based on what he's done? Who knows?
Are you happy with the whole NCAA CHL thing? Like, as a guy who has been embedded in the CHL for a number of years?
At first, I was not happy. I'll be honest.
And why is that? Can you tell us why that is?
Well, just growing up as like a CHL fan, right? I had seasons tickets to Blazers games. I'm sorry, I'm trying to fucking center this.
You're good. Listen, you sound.
Dude,
we want you to sound good, and you sound good, and you're not delayed. So don't worry about how you look.
That's all that matters, right? No, I'm a homer for the WHL, man. Like, I grew up with seasons tickets. I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s with this club. Went to games with my grandparents. Like, this league and this like team, like the Blazers, right? Like, they're everything to me. I'm a huge fan. I work for them now. But to see players like that, like, for me, it just like it felt like a stab in the back. Like, honestly, to see Canadian players go down to like the US. And now I think that that's so stupid for me to look at it that way, because it's about the opportunity. And I know personally some players who have played for the Blazers who had NCAA opportunities but chose to come and play for us. So and Logan Stankoven's one of them, and he's been open about that, right? He could have gone and played NCAA with a top school, but he chose to come play in his hometown. But you think about how that rule could have changed for him. He could have gone and played for a North Dakota or a Michigan or a whoever, and then still played the Memorial Cup with his hometown team. Like, it's kind of cool how that works out. So for me, I've built on it. I've learned to love it now. I think it's really cool what's happening. It gives these players like an extra step, right, in development. And honestly, I think at the same time, a lot of players aren't going to like it. Like, I think a lot of CHL players are going to make the jump thinking that it's going to be awesome. And then they're going to go from, 68 to 72 games to 35.
Yeah, it's a lot of time in the gym, a lot of time. For that. It's a total, I mean, just going from my junior hockey experience, it is a totally different animal.
Yeah. But it's also
probably good for the long run.
Yeah, but it's also, Colton, the one thing I'll say too, like, if you're a good player and your ice time is there, and like you're going to be a power play player in both leagues, like, there's an element of the college lifestyle that I think most guys do enjoy. It's not for everybody. And I'll just say this to you, as somebody who coaches in a league, a lower league, right? The North American Hockey League, our job at the NA level is to develop players for the USHL, the NCAA, maybe even the CHL. You might see kids that are really young that take a year in the NA, then maybe they go to the USHL or the CHL. And it's like, that's my mentality, is try to get you to the next level. We lost our leading goal scorer last year, Logan Renkowski, halfway through the year to the USHL for the rest of the season. And of course, like, that hurts our team, but I'm more happy for him than I am sad for losing my number one goal scorer on the power play, because that's just how I have to wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
And I think Canadian fans will get to that point. You're still going to be able to root for guys who played for Kamloops for 2 or 3 years, and then they went to North Dakota or Denver. It'll just give you another team to have skin in the game for, which I think ultimately there's a way where we can all kind of hug it out and work together.
The fun thing, the fun side of it, talking with like some of our staff here with the Blazers, is there's going to be super teams, like legitimate super teams in the CHL that can get created now, because guys, there's now these abilities for top US born players to now just come up and play a bye year in the CHL.
Right.
And we're going to see that with a lot of guys, like even Influx this year. And there goes my camera again. Even the Influx this year, we're going to see a lot of that. So it's going to be, I'm intrigued, honestly. Like,
how would they create super teams though if there's a draft and everything? That's what I'm confused.
Because there can still be like
manipulated too. Very manipulated.
The draft is Colby's right about that. That is a thing. But just in the sense that, like, before, I guess, a lot of US players wouldn't get selected in like the first few rounds because there was no like guarantee they'd come up. Now teams can kind of draft them, and teams can build around these guys. And like for I don't know if I can speak on this, but I know the Blazers have a top NCAA committed player to Michigan who's coming up to play this season, or he's going to try to at least play this season. And so that's like a huge get for us. So I don't know, I guess maybe super team is the wrong word, but there can be some pretty bolstered rosters built.
Fair enough.
Johnny, let me tell you this, like, going back to my draft year in the OHL, you know, because I played in the Ontario Provincial League as a 15-year-old in front of the OHL every single night. I had the teams calling us and saying, like, we will draft you this pick, that pick, like, but they all wanted to work out. It looks like my camera just froze for a second, so I'll work my way out of it.
Yeah,
but
tough freeze frame too.
Yeah, but you can still hear me, luckily. But you know, I like, you still get to say to them, no, I'm not going to come and accept this package. And so teams wouldn't draft you. Like, I ended up getting drafted by Brampton because everybody called me all the days leading up and we're like, yeah, I'm not going to report because I'm going to college. So nobody took a flyer on me. And then eventually someone says, okay, we'll take a flyer on you. Let's see. Right. Like, that's kind of how you manipulate that draft.
Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Colton, I just want to ask you too, like, for, you know, people like me, and again, I'll try to catch a game or two here and there. You know, from this way going or this way forward. You know, we hear about Misa, we hear about McKenna. Like, who's having a coming out party right now in the Memorial Cup? Like, who's a guy that could be must-watch television that people might not know about in the States that don't pay attention to it?
Well, people know about this kid, but he's become my favorite player, and that's Ryder Ritchie. I mean, 4 goals, 5 points, leads the entire Memorial Cup.
Is he related to Cal?
Byron.
No, Byron.
Is related? No, I said
that's his
related.
dad.
Yeah. Okay.
So for me, it's him. Honestly, it's Ryder Ritchie. Like, he's been phenomenal. I thought Kasper Halttunen, because like Kasper Halttunen scored 9 goals in 5 games back in the OHL final. I thought he was going to kind of continue that streak and just light it up, but he kind of has been a little bit silent. He scored last game though. But for me, yeah, it's Ryder Ritchie or Hunter St. Martin of Medicine Hat as well. He's a Florida Panthers pick, a 6th round pick, and he's very good, very creative, a hard player to play against. But I love Ryder Ritchie right now.
Do you have an NHL comparison to him? I know he was drafted last year by Minnesota, right?
Yeah, 2nd round. Yeah. I don't off the top of my head. I'm trying to think though. He just plays like he plays so perfect. Like, the way that he shows off his like big game capabilities and how he can kind of score in these huge games, and he's highly engaged. He's smart in the transition. He's got a good shot. There's just a lot to like about him.
Good numbers too. Just looking them up right now. Point
Yeah,
per game
yeah.
playoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so look, Colton, we're gonna let you go here, but we're not gonna let you go without a prediction because
Okay.
we always ask for predictions here. How do you see the last couple of games here of the Memorial Cup playing out? Do you feel like we're gonna get a little rematch and have this Medicine Hat versus London championship game, or like what would your prediction be?
Well, I mean, yes, my heart and my gut, everything says it's going to be London versus Medicine Hat in the final. It'll be a rematch, but it's hard to count out like the Quebec teams because Rimouski's playing in front of that home crowd. Moncton's playing phenomenal. Moncton had a phenomenal season. They're coached by Gardner McDougall, who's won everything under the sun. But and the only issue with Moncton is only their defensemen have scored. So Dylan Gill and Etienne Morin, like they haven't had a forward score yet, so they kind of need that from Caleb Desnoyers or some like a Uri Pekarik or somebody. But for me, you get to that Friday game when it's going to be London versus the winner of tonight's game, and I think London just kind of steamrolls them. I was saying earlier during my audio issues that London was here last year. They lost in the Memorial Cup final. They know what it's like. They have barely changed their roster, so it's a lot of the same players, a lot of the same chemistry. So yeah, I think it's London versus Medicine Hat, but I got to go with the boys out west with the guys in the hat getting the win.
Okay.
I got
All right.
one more for you though, Colton. Actually,
Yeah, I
because,
just wanted to ask
from
Doogie
Doogie?
in the chat,
Yeah.
Johnny said, what question did he wait up past
So-
midnight for? So let's make sure we ask it.
Doogie is in. I'll say it as Melbourne, Australia. He's up past midnight right now, waiting around. So he wants me to ask you about Andrew Basha from Medicine Hat and if he thinks he can make the Flames out of camp.
Oh, see, I don't know if he can make the Flames at a camp, but he's been that good that he could definitely be a player that'll get like preseason games and a look. Like this is a kid who was injured, who was lights out, then got
Yeah.
injured, then returned during the WHL final and hasn't missed a beat.
And he's a Calgary-born kid too, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Flames fans they must love this kid.
Yeah. No, and he
Yeah,
plays with energy,
Second round
man.
pick as well.
Yeah. Or was he a later round pick?
I'm gonna look it up quick. I
Yeah.
think I saw on social media he was a second rounder.
But he's
second
a ball
round,
of
41st overall.
There you go. But he's a ball of energy. Like such a fun player to watch, and definitely a future top 6, top 9 forward for the Flames.
All right. Well, there it is.
All
Now
right.
you can go to bed, Doogie.
we're very appreciative that you came on. Give us a little lowdown on the Memorial Cup. We'll try to tune in on NHL Network. Olivia, we hope that you're satisfied here. We always say we try to keep our listeners happy. If you guys comment in the YouTube chat, we will try our best to get to it. Colton, thanks for coming on today, man. Have a great
Yeah,
day.
thanks, Colton.
No worries, guys. Anytime.
And before we get into 365, Johnny,
Yeah.
I just want to say, let's get the comments back up today on the YouTube stream. Once it's live done, get your comments in. We'll look at them for tomorrow. It's the way I knew it was Jeremiah's birthday with the comments. So I'm glad I looked at them. Let's get those likes up on the episode. Let's get the auto downloads going. I haven't looked, Johnny, how we're doing with subscribers, if we're still climbing subscribers, because that's
Show us
obviously
28.6.
all right. So we gotta get the subscriber count jumping here. We gotta get to the 29,000 number here in the next week, because that gives us the full Stanley Cup finals to get that last 1,000 to get to 30,000. We gotta make that happen. That'll help Johnny get his extra bonuses for his next contract, which will keep him from having to go get a law clerk job working for his girlfriend next year. So
And maybe it'll get me a hotel room instead of having to stay in your house August 7th.
I told you could stay with me. What do you want to pay for a hotel room if I tell
Probably
you?
just
I even invited
bad
your
idea.
girlfriend. Like I gave you guys the full. You guys can come and stay, and we'll take good care of you over here. We'll make some latkes, some matzo ball soup. I don't know if we'll get crazy or not, but
Yeah.
listen.
Wait, one thing. Olivia, please don't embarrass me with the clip.
What's the
I said-
clip?
No, I said good to see Ryder Bolton as a good player. I guess he's not as good with London, but I was just saying it was nice to see a familiar name that I knew from coaching when I was a kid. And I
Okay.
sound stupid, I guess.
Got it. Okay. I can't believe you cut me off to do that. But anyways, so again, hit those likes, hit those subscribes, get the automatic downloads going. Those are super important for us, as we continue to grow this thing. And Johnny, with that, I'll give it to you. You can tell us what your bet is, your bet 365 of the night. Tell you what, your series predictions aren't looking great right now. I'm
Tonight's
feeling
loser of the night.
I'm feeling pretty good about going 2 for 2.
Yeah.
And I haven't been right very often in this playoffs, but I feel very good about my predictions on the conference finals.
As you should. So for tonight, if you want to get into the action for Stanley Cup playoffs at Bet365, they got you from game props, player props, totals, and the money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So download the app and get in on the game, an official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And remember, you must be 19 or older. And tonight, win one game at home. You're one of the best home teams in the NHL. You always have been. Show that you can keep this series alive and force a game 6. Carolina Hurricanes money line tonight at home to beat the Florida Panthers and give us just one more hockey game. I don't want the conference finals to both end in 5. There'd be a lot of downtime going into the cup final, which I don't think anyone really wants.
Really, if both ended in 5, they wouldn't just get it going. You think they're going to wait?
They would probably get it going, but I still think.
See, I'm the opposite.
I don't see a Stanley Cup final starting in May. Like it would at least be a week, I think.
First off, I don't think anybody thinks it's going to start in if let's say, the series, the Florida series were to end tonight and the Edmonton series were to end Thursday, or do they play Friday? I don't know if they have 2 days between because
I believe Thursday.
Okay, so would it really be the worst thing to start on Sunday and have like an ABC window on Is it ESPN or is it TNT in the US for the Cup?
The East is TNT. Oh, for the Cup, it's TNT.
It's TNT. So I wouldn't mind a little 3 p.m. game 1 or a 1 p.m. game 1 on Sunday.
There's no way they're doing a 3 p.m. game 1 of the Cup final. That's never going to happen.
Well, first of all, go back in the history. Anytime they have a national, if they can get an ABC or back in the day, an NBC TV window, yes, they've had 1 p.m. or a 3 p.m. game for that. Obviously, it's different because
for the Cup final.
Yes, obviously different because it's TNT and it's not ESPN, so they don't have the ABC TV windows. But yes, there has been that. Because
I can't remember ever
an NBC or an NBC or an ABC window, those are day windows, and there's always traditionally been one of those. So, but it's a moot point because it's on TNT. But what would be so bad about starting on June 1st and having the finals over before June 20th? I mean, like June 20th is ridiculous. People are into their summer already.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like
last year was insane. Last year there was like 3 days between the draft and game 7.
It's too late. It really is too late. So I want to get the Cup started as soon as humanly possible because I think the earlier it ends, the better, because I just think you keep everybody's attention. So that's kind of my hope. All right. So that's what we got for Bet365 today. Go ahead, Johnny.
MYR Marine said, who do we have to at to get a live once per week morning cup of hockey during the summer?
Yeah, we'll
instead
talk
of pre-recorded. Well, the only reason why in the summer I think we aim toward pre-recorded is to cater to NHL players' schedules so we can actually interview players. Not a lot of guys can do a show at 9 a.m. They're usually training in the summer. Yeah. So the whole pre-recorded shows in the summer are usually just to chat with players and to hear from them about their summers and stuff because it's tough to get them on at 9 a.m. Even in the season, it's tough to get them on at 9 a.m. too. So that's why we aim toward pre-recorded. But we always go back and watch usually. So I could see the bullying comments just from watching.
Well, we'll talk about it. I think it's something we could try to do one here and there, but I think we're only going to do one show a week in the summer. I think that's kind of the plan, right? So we'll talk about all that. We'll see how it all goes. We obviously have the we'll have the free agency show. Like we'll still have some of that stuff. So stay tuned. So that's it. That's what we got today. So it was a long show. We had a number of guests. We bounced around, and let's see what happens here over the next couple of days. What is today? Is it Wednesday? I'm
Today
going
is
off
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
So 2 more shows this week. Let's make sure we finish strong the next 2 days. After the show is done, get over to YouTube, leave your comments, let us know what you want to talk. Even if you're watching the game tonight and things are happening, go put them in the YouTube stream. That is the place that we will see it. Johnny might see it in other places. I will not. So get active in there and let us know. So we hope everybody has a good day today. Johnny, I hope you have a good day today. I don't know what it is that you're doing, but hopefully you make time worthwhile. And I think I'm going to have to start training for Checking for Charity after this. I might get on the Peloton and start working towards that August tournament. So
How many games is that?
I think you probably play like 3. You probably play like 1 Friday, 2 Saturday, and then Sunday would be like,
Oh, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
it's 8th, 9th, and 10th. So yeah, like you're probably gonna have 2 games on Saturday, and if you're
gonna wash my gitch?
the semifinals on Sunday, you probably play in the championship. So yeah, there'd probably be 4 games in 2 days on Saturday, Sunday, which would be a lot for me. So like I might only be a 1 game per day guy with my groin and hip issues. So we'll see.
You hear that, guys? Colby needs load management.
I do at this stage in my career. I do. God, you know, the last time you made that face on me in camera, like, you know, like how many times that got used back on you. So we hope everybody has a great day. We appreciate the chat today, and we'll see everybody where we always do, 9 a.m. tomorrow. See you later.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.